Test 1 2 1 2. Check 1 2. Hey, 1 2. Okay, check 1 2. Hey there. 1 2. Alrighty, it's noon, so I'll go ahead and give it a start. Hi everyone, I'm Brendan Campbell-Craven. I'm the AV tech here in the IT department, for all of you that do not know me. The purpose of this talk is just to provide some basic training for operating the AV space in this room. Mainly just so folks can, they can use this great system that we have on their own in an impromptu way, for instance, like watching a movie after hours or stuff like that. I'm going to breeze through this walkthrough because I just want to open up the floor for questions mainly. If you want to find more detail about the system's technical infrastructure, that's all on Office Wiki. So we'll move it on. Cool. So yeah, I'll go over the space, equipment, and the tools. I'll go over the lounge iPad, the Mac Mini, and the AV rack, and just some basic setup instructions. So usually this space is used for casual work, collaboration, meetings, one-on-ones, AV events. So some basic stuff I do when I'm prepping the space for an event is if it's sunny outside, which during this time of the day it usually comes through that side of the room, I'll close the blinds, just basic stuff. I'll turn off these fluorescent lights up here, which just ask Robert or I if you want to do that. We have to go to the breaker to do that. I'll adjust the microphone stand height to a normal person height, not my height. And then if someone needs a podium or anything like that, I'll set that up for them. Cool. So let's go over some equipment. So what I'm holding right now is just one of our wireless handheld microphones. We have 4 of these. We also have a couple lavalier or clip-on or lapel microphones. These are great when someone is giving a demo and they can't hold a microphone. They need both their hands for a demo. We have 2 cameras in here. We have the stage camera, which is right on this podium, and the audience camera right over there. When you're operating the AV event, you have the ability to switch between these 2 camera views, as well as any of our HDMI inputs, which are, for instance, this computer right here is plugged into one of our HDMI inputs, and that's where we're getting the slides from. So we have 3 projectors. They're all high definition 1920 by 1080, so that's a 16 by 9 aspect ratio. That's useful to know when you're creating a slide deck. Oftentimes you'll see people come in here and present a different aspect ratio, like a 16 by 10, and then that's where you'll see like the letterbox sides doesn't fill out the whole projector. So try and get that aspect ratio right. Here's a kind of a fisheye view of this room with a diagram. Cool. We also have a couple presentation remotes, which I'm using right now. Useful thing to know is that the wireless receiver is plugged into the computer over here. So when you're switching slides, point at the computer, not at the screen. We have a confidence monitor right here is what it's called. Basically, you can use it to display your slides, or right now, for instance, I'm using slide notes. So we have the slides up here and my notes on the screen. All right, so this is a picture of our AV system, which Emerald is operating right now. It's usually locked. If you want to operate an AV event, just let me know. I'll give you the key. So we have 6 HDMI inputs in this rack. Well, 6 HDMI inputs in the room. There's a couple up here. The presentation laptop is plugged into one, and we have another loose one here if someone wanted to plug in their own laptop. And then we have 4 more inputs on the rack. There's also a Mac Mini in there, and there's an Apple TV in there, and also a Raspberry Pi. So this is our iPad Mini that we use to easily control the system. There's one that's loose in the AV rack, and there's also one mounted on the wall back there by the AV rack. Cool, so I went over that. We have Apple TV, Mac, and usually we typically run Google Hangouts, Google Hangouts on Air, or Blue Jeans in here, because those are the tools we use here, but basically anything that's browser-based, you can use it. So I'll go over the iPad right now. So a typical setup is, well, we have our preset setups up here, but typically I like to manually set up the room. I just find it more intuitive. To set up, say I want to set something, I want to put something on the projectors. So I would click Manual Scenes, and then click whatever I want my output to be. For example, the left projector. And then over here, I would click whatever I want to send to the projector. So right now, I'm sending faceplate input B to the projector. Input B is over here. That's what the presentation laptop's plugged into. All our inputs around the room are labeled, and the label matches what's on the iPad. So faceplate B and B2 are up here. Rack HDMI A1 is in the AV rack. AV booth Mac A is the Mac Mini in the rack. The Apple TV is the Apple TV in the rack. Rack HDMI K is in the rack. And then we have our stage camera right here and our audience camera. So it's pretty simple. You press what you want to send to, and then you press what you want to send. Cool. So now let's move on to display controls. The display controls menu is to control these 3 projectors. So to turn the projector on, you press on. To bring the screen down, you press the down arrow. To bring it back up, you press the up arrow. Pretty simple. So the AV bridge control is the next menu. So the AV bridge control is what you're sending to the Mac Mini. For example, when I'm operating a Google Hangout on air back there on the Mac Mini, I can change which input I want to send out to YouTube. So right now, I assume Emerald's probably sending my slides out. It works similar to what I just described on how to send stuff to the projector. So if you want to send the slides to YouTube, you would select faceplate input B. So you want to send the stage camera, you just press stage camera. It's pretty simple. Cool, let's move on to camera control. So the camera control menu is where you can control the stage camera and the audience camera. They have a 180-degree view, so it's a pretty wide view. It covers most of the room. Up here on the stage, if you've ever been up here, you'll notice there are black tape marks which mark the limits of the stage camera view. So I always tell presenters to try and stay in between the 2 posts, which kind of line up with the black tape, or in the middle of the black tape. Cool, so we have some presets in our camera control menu, as you can see right here. These presets can be changed at any time just by holding the number down. Say you want to change preset 1, you choose which view you want, and then you hold 1. Pretty simple. So here's some presets that I have right now set. As you can see, I like this one for metrics or other big meetings where I can quickly switch to the question microphone stand. All right, let's move on to advanced audio. So say a lot of times problems I run into up here are when people are speaking in the same microphone and they're passing it off back and forth, but they both have very different speaking tones and volumes. So you can change the basic gain of the microphones from the advanced audio control. You can also mute microphones. Say someone forgot to mute the microphone manually up here. You can do it back there. All right, so to turn the projection system off, it's really simple. You just press turn the system off, and then you press power down. Pretty simple. The idea of this system was to be as user-friendly as possible, so anyone could use it. You don't need to be an AV wizard to use the system. All right, let's move on to the Mac Mini. So you can control the Mac Mini with the mouse and the keyboard up there, but you can also control it remotely really easily if you're running Mac OS. So to do so, you just open up your Finder window and you click Shared, and you go under All, and you can find the Mac Mini labeled as R59 Lounge. So to connect to that remotely, you just double-click on it. You click Share Screen, and then you enter the credentials. So we have an admin account on the Mac Mini, which IT controls that password, but there's also a public lounge account, and the password is the same as the loaner laptops. Cool. So let's just go over some FAQ. So say you want to use the microphones. Pretty simple. You just start up the AV system. On the main menu screen, you'll see the mute button is selected. It'll be blue. By default, mute is on. That's basic good AV practice. You don't want to turn the system on and you say you have a bunch of live mics and the system just goes berserk with feedback. So typically when best practice in AV is to turn the gain all the way down before you unmute the overall gain, the master control, because you want to control the level of the microphone. So you'll say test 1, 1, 2, and you'll slowly bring up the gain until it's at a grid level. That's pretty much it. If you find it necessary, you can go into the advanced audio like I described earlier and adjust each microphone's individual gain. All right, so say you want to connect to your video game system or your laptop, or you just want to show a movie. To do so, it's super simple. You can use some of the presets, or one of the presets on the iPad. So I'll go back to that right now. So we have these presets up here and these scene options. So say you just wanted to watch a movie on your laptop. You can click simple input up here, and basically all that does is it drops the center screen and only the center screen, and then it routes video to the screen from faceplate input B2. So it's just this loose cable over here. You just plug that into your video output and you're good to go. It'll also route audio from that input to the system. Cool, same deal here. If you say I want to put my laptop's image on a projector using HDMI, you can click the simple input preset or any other preset that meets your needs. Say I want to put my laptop's image on a projector wirelessly using AirPlay or something like that. So this works if you're running Mac OS. You can use the Apple TV to do this wirelessly. So you just start the AV system up. On manual screen, you choose which, on manual scenes, you select which projector you'd like to use, like I described earlier, and then you just press Apple TV to send to that screen. So you just got to wait a couple minutes for Apple TV to fire up, and then you'll see the splash screen on the center projector or whatever you choose to send it to. And then just using your laptop, you can connect to the Apple TV using AirPlay. All right, so you just want to play some music over the speakers. Super simple. So you just fire up the AV system, go to manual scenes, press speakers, and then you press AV booth Mac A. So what that will do is that will send the Mac Mini's audio to the speaker system. From there, you can log into whatever streaming music account you have, watch music on, or listen to music on YouTube, whatever. Cool. Say you want to run a karaoke session or something. Contact OIT. That's a little more complicated. It's not too hard to do anymore. We used to have to use this old Linux build, and it was a huge workaround, but now we have software on the Mac Mini that makes it pretty simple. But just let us know and we can get it set up for you. All right, say you want to run a Google Hangout. It's pretty simple. So you just start up the AV system, you go to manual scenes, and just like before, and you choose what you want to send to the projector. So say you want to send slides to the projector, or maybe you want to send the AV Mac Mini to the projector so you can see who you're talking to on the Hangout. So you just route that, and then on manual scenes, you'll want to go to speakers, and you'll want to select the Mac Mini because the Hangout's being hosted on the Mac Mini. So you want the audio from that Hangout to be routed to the speakers. From there, you would just log into the whatever Google account or whatever video conference service you're using on the Mac Mini, and make sure that the audio settings on your video conference are set to AV Bridge Conference for both input and output. That'll be an option on the Mac Mini. And then if you're still having some audio problems, so you can't hear sound in here, check your system preferences to make sure that audio output is also going to AV Bridge Conference. Cool. Say I want to set up a Google Hangout with presenter slides. So same deal as I just explained, except you would go to AV Bridge Control on the iPad Mac Mini, or the iPad, excuse me, by the Mac Mini, and you just select whatever HDMI input you're using for your slides. So say you're hosting, or your slides are up on the presenter laptop up here, so that goes out to HDMI B. So you just select on AV Bridge Control, you select B, and that'll send out your slides to the Hangout. Say you're done showing your slides, you just want to show the audience camera or stage camera, you would just select stage camera or audience camera. All right, so I'm just going to talk about some basic tips and tricks with Google Hangouts. Usually the Hangouts window or video call window will automatically show whoever's currently speaking. I'm sure you guys are all aware of this. But you can choose someone else as a presenter. And if you're the host of the Hangout, and you can pin someone's video to the call. So to do this, you choose whatever you open the Hangout call. On the person's photo thumbnail down in the bottom right, you can click, there's a little drop-down menu on the top right of the thumbnail, and you can click present to everyone. So that'll force that person's screen share or video feed or whatever to present to everyone in the Hangout. That's useful when I'm running Google Hangouts on Aaron here and say we have a remote presenter who's presenting slides. For whatever reason, Hangouts might not automatically switch to that speaker, so I can force that speaker to be shown in the Hangout on there. So say you're presenting someone's slides to everyone, or you're presenting their view to everyone. The little video thumbnail bar will be shown in the bottom of the Hangout. That's great for normal Hangouts when you're in a conference room or something, so you can see who's present in the meeting. But sometimes for a Hangout on Air, I'll want it to look a little more professional. For like a metrics meeting, I don't want the video thumbnails to show up in the feed. So you can click the hide participants icon up here on the top left, outlined in the red square, and that'll hide the film strip, the thumbnail film strip. Cool. So I'll just go over some BlueJeans tips right now. So BlueJeans is one of our web conferencing tools here. For those that don't know, our main use for it right now is for large meetings over 25 people. 25 people is the max participant limit for Google Hangouts. It also has the ability to easily record meetings with just a click of the button, so that's pretty nice. So to log into your BlueJeans account, you just go to wmf.bluejeans.com and just log in with your Google credentials. Pretty simple. Cool, so BlueJeans has a cool tool where you can connect it to your Google Calendar, integrates, so whenever you create a calendar event, you can just click a thumb or a button that adds a BlueJeans meeting. Yeah, it's a cool tool if you want to use it. Cool, so to join a meeting or start a meeting, you can either click the link in the email invitation. The URL on the link will have your meeting ID, your unique ID to that specific BlueJeans meeting. You can also join from the BlueJeans site. So you can go to wmf.bluejeans.com and you can click join meeting or join a meeting, and then it'll ask you for the meeting ID, and if there's a password, it'll ask you for that. All right, so say you're in a conference room and you just want to start a BlueJeans meeting on that conference room account. You can go to wmf.bluejeans.com/scheduling and click Start My Meeting, and that'll just every BlueJeans account has a unique personal meeting ID that never changes. So you can use that personal meeting whenever you want. Simple. You can add a password if you want. Cool. So the BlueJeans Meeting Chrome extension it allows for users to share their screen when they're using the browser-based version that uses WebRTC. The extension is just based around Chrome's desktop capture API, and it's limited explicitly to BlueJeans domain, so it's secure. Our security team has audited this extension, and they said it's secure, fine to use. All right, so playing the room during live events. This is kind of an art. You kind of develop your own style if you're operating an AV event. But typically, you'll just want to switch between video inputs while the event is going on. Usually I try and keep the video inputs on the slides because remote folks are generally interested in seeing the slides. They want to see the information and they can hear the speaker talking. But sometimes, say, a speaker is looking for reaction from an audience, asking audience questions, or there's a Q&A section where there's no information on the slides currently that's worth seeing. I'll switch to the stage view or the audience view, these cameras right here. All right, so let's just go over some best presentation practices. I try and practice what I preach. I'm not a super experienced presenter, but here's some easy tips. So for the handheld microphone, a rule of thumb is to hold the microphone like you hold an ice cream cone, is what I always tell people. Generally, what that encourages is for folks to hold the microphone at a steady level close to their mouth and also speak into the mic. A lot of times you'll see people, inexperienced microphone users or someone who's nervous, they'll speak over the microphone like this. So this isn't really picking up the sound. Your sound is going away over the microphone, not into it. So you want to hold the microphone pointed toward your mouth. To mute the microphone, there's a button underneath the microphone. You just tap the button to mute it or unmute it. To turn it off or on, you hold this button. So when the microphone is unmuted, you'll see a little green button here, or green light, LED light. When it's muted, you'll see a red light. And when it's off, you'll see no light. If you want to use a lavalier microphone or clip-on microphone or lapel microphone, whatever you want to call it, that's great. That's, like I said earlier, that's great if you're doing demos or you just really don't want to hold a microphone in front of your mouth, you're not comfortable doing that. That's awesome. Just let whoever's running the meeting know a little bit ahead of time because there's a little more setup involved with that. But just a rule of thumb, when you're setting up a lavalier microphone, clipping it on to yourself, you want to clip it on where your chin meets your chest. And you want to make sure the microphone is pointed at your mouth. Generally, that'll come up with a pretty positive result. Say you're asking a question during a Q&A session. Take the time. It's totally okay to take the time to adjust the microphone stand height. I know a lot of times at metrics meetings, people who are really tall will lean down, or people who aren't as tall will crank their head up. It's okay to take like 5 seconds to adjust the stand height. That's totally normal. Also, if you are running a presentation and folks have impromptu questions, that's awesome. Just try and remind folks to use the microphone when they ask questions for the sake of remote folks. Cool. So when you're presenting, preparing for your presentation is a great idea. Like generally doing a dry run of your presentation, talking to a mirror, talking to your coworkers or whatever, sending your slides to your coworkers for them to review. That's a great idea. Generally know where the camera view is. A lot of times you'll see in meetings, people will be talking like here, like hiding behind a pillar. Camera can't see you there, so try and stay in the camera's view. And the black marks on the ground show that. Using a presentation remote is a great idea. And take advantage of the confidence monitor. Like right now I'm looking at slide notes because I'm not a super experienced presenter, so these notes really help me keep on track. All right, let's go over some troubleshooting for some common problems I have. So say there's a hissing sound. You set up the sound in the room, you do everything properly, but there's a hissing sound that's coming through the speakers. Typically, this can happen because the volume is cranked up way too high, the master volume on the AV bridge. So try bringing down that level and then going into advanced audio and making sure your microphones are turned up to a proper level. Say the local video, the TV or monitor closest to this confidence monitor closest to the stage is problematic. Say the image is snowballed or really blown up. It means the HDMI signal being sent to it is not properly scaled. Just try unplugging the HDMI cord and plugging it back in. That's plugged into the TV. Say the audio on the Google Hangout is crackly or staticky, or we call it artifacts. Usually what I try and do in that case is I leave the Hangout and come back again. Hangouts is a free product, believe it or not, so it's not perfect. Another thing I would do if that doesn't work is I would reset the whole AV system. So I'd turn the system off, turn it back on. It usually solves the problem. Cool. So I'm sure I forgot some things. I'm sure some things I explained were not clear at all. So basically what I wanted to do is just open up the floor for questions if there are any. And like I said earlier, all the documentation for all this is on Office Wiki, and that does a much better job explaining it than I did just now. So cool.
I have a whole bunch of questions, if that's okay. I don't know if there's people on Hangouts who have them too.
Probably not.
Is this is this on air now and gonna be recorded for other people to watch later? Because I think it would be.
Yes, absolutely. This is being publicly broadcasted right now. So I'll share the video out in the email thread that I sent to everyone.
And is there any chance to, on top of this, also write some stuff on Office Wiki so that people can read through it too?
Sure, yeah. So I actually based this presentation off my documentation I've wrote on Office Wiki, so I can link that out too. There's some things I need to update, and I will do that, but it's I would say it's pretty good documentation. It's pretty thorough.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, because I think a lot more people than are here should probably listen to this and probably will be interested too. Do you, based on all your experience doing, I feel like you've done like hundreds of presentations now. Do you think that Blue Jeans or Google Hangouts is a better option? Because I usually feel like Google Hangouts is, but I wonder if I'm missing anything.
I like Google Hangouts a lot because it integrates easily into all our other Google apps. It's really user-friendly. I find it a little more user-friendly than Blue Jeans. And now that they up the participation limit to 25 people, that fills a lot of our needs that Blue Jeans previously filled. So to be perfectly honest, I prefer Hangouts to Blue Jeans. And really that's pretty much the vibe around here. Blue Jeans is great because there's that record option. That's a powerful feature. And for, say we have a big staff meeting, and it's really important that everyone has the ability to participate, all of our remote folks. So Blue Jeans is great for that because we can set up a meeting that can have up to 100 people. So basically Blue Jeans fills the holes that Google Hangouts has. Google Hangouts is our workhorse.
Is there any IT policy about using the space and what you can or can't use in the off hours, like if you weren't around?
Yeah, sure. I forgot to mention that. So we have a form called the Facilities Usage Form. It's a Google form. You can find that on admin's Office Wiki page. You use this form to request to reserve the space. So say you wanted to hold an event with external folks or a big meeting in here. It's a good practice to fill out the form first, just to make sure there's no schedule conflicts and to make sure admin and IT can fully support you in your event. But for stuff like, say, it's after hours and you're here with a coworker and you want to watch a movie or something, like you wouldn't need to use the form for that. And a big purpose of this presentation is to let folks know that this space is everyone's. It's not just IT space or admin space, and that the idea was for, when this was built, from what I understand, is for everyone to be able to use it.
How much notice do you need for like nighttime and evening events if they're official WMF events?
That's a good question. We don't have like a set time frame for that, but typically I would say about a week is a good warning for admin and IT in the case that there would need, say there really does need to be IT support here or admin here for various reasons, to just let us adjust our schedules.
2 more questions, is that okay? Sorry. I'm curious about the on-air light, and I wonder, is that either something that automatically is triggered when you're actually on air, or is it some button that you push just to let people know in the room?
Good question. Another thing I left out. So we have a wireless remote back there in the plastic drawers by the AV rack that's where our microphones are kept, and some cable adapters, some cables, and also a wireless remote that controls these lights. If you can see, we have some stage lights up here to provide better lighting for the cameras, and also the on-air light. And so that remote is, Byron's holding it right now, and it's labeled. And so yeah, we control that manually. I turn on the on-air light when I'm broadcasting something on Hangout on Air or anything that's public, so folks, just to let folks know, it's not just us; it's the whole world in here.
Cool. And then the last one is, I know also organizing events and stuff. Is there anything that people are regularly doing that you can manage, but it's kind of annoying or frustrating, or you wish people would do something in a different way? Because I'm sure probably there's something that.
Yeah. So sure. One thing would be when you fill out the facilities usage form, we really do explain what you want, and don't be afraid to ask for IT to be there. Like sometimes a lot of folks think it's a burden on me or Janet or anyone else from IT and admin to support these events, when really it's a core part of our job. So just be specific on the form and ask for what you want, and we'll follow up with you to make sure that's what you want. But yeah, that would be it.
Okay, thank you so much.
Thanks, Rachel. Cool. So it looks like there is no IRC participation right now, but thank you, Eliza, for monitoring that. I think that's it. If there aren't any more questions, I'll go ahead and wrap this up. Like I said earlier, we're recording this, so I'll send this link out to everyone. Would you mind using the mic, Byron? You can use Eliza, or that one. Yeah.
Is it okay if we run through and push some buttons? Again, you guys like to do that? Rachel?
I think your mic's muted, but what Byron asked, is it okay if we mess around and press some buttons? Yeah, let's do it. I could connect the iPad to the Apple TV so we could all see what's going on, or folks could try it out themselves. What do you have in mind? How about we grab our spare iPad and folks can play around?